spark the fever will feed, and enfolding this need, an overwhelming relief. I am healing, I am healing, I am healing, yeah. Make then a focus for this pain, a point to open the way. Beckon prayers here to stay, and a connection is made. I am healing, I am healing, I am healing, yeah. Across the miles I hear your cry. It is a guide to my light. Feel it working, do not fight. No more darkness, all is bright. Oh, all is bright. One part focus, one part intent. One heart open, one love connect. One path of light flowing bright. Feeling the streaming of healing to this opening. Going in this strong open. We're one part focus, one part intent. One heart open, one love connect. One path of light flowing bright. Feeling the streaming of healing to this opening. Going in, gonna win, we're whole now. Let it go now. We're whole now. I feel a body calm and clear. Only peace and wellness here. I feel the comfort of you near. Forever love will hold us dear. Feel that healing energy. I am healing, I am healing, I am healing, yeah. Sing it with us. I am healing, I am healing, I am healing. Thank you so much.
I am healing. We are healing. We are healing. We are healing. Well, that felt good. I actually listened to some of Ginger's songs when I knew she was coming, and this one just jumped out at me. But to have them both here doing it live, it's just like, whoa. She's not kidding about the energy, yeah. And even though I knew this was a weekend to celebrate Independence Day, I thought, no, this is it. This is the song that needs to happen with this message today. We are healing. I know that what I got from that, and I even talked with her just a second or two before the service, and she talked about how she was glad to sing this song and how it had so many dimensions. I think you said on your website that you wrote the song just because there was, not just, but that there was loved ones that were going through physical healing, right? Yeah. But that there are many dimensions to that song. And I see it saying that our lives are healing, our relationships are healing, our country is healing, our world is healing, if we're up for it, if we're ready for it. I don't know about you, but the last couple years, for most people, I know that there are certain people that have felt this pain, this oppression for decades, their whole life perhaps, but most of us have been through a lot as a world and as a country in the last couple of years. And I would love to be able to celebrate Independence Day, but it feels like the oppression and the tyranny that brought about Independence Day is actually kind of revisiting itself with COVID and a worldwide pandemic, which interestingly enough brought in increased violence against Asian Americans. And with the killing of George Floyd, it just brought up to many of us who were out of touch with our unconscious bias an opportunity to see how much prejudice and oppression there still is in our country. And then Russia attacks Ukraine, and America attacks its own capital. Yeah, so I know you're feeling that. So just keep breathing when I remind you that the Supreme Court reversed Roe v. Wade, and African Americans were killed in their own neighborhood grocery store, and children and teachers were killed in their own sweet classroom. Keep breathing. There's probably hundreds or thousands more stories that we're not aware of that feel oppressive to those who are experiencing them. And yet, we are healing if we stand in our powers to overcome. You have powers to overcome. Did you know that? Yes. Most of us, thank you. Was that you, Sharon? Thank you, Sharon. Sharon knows. Congressman John Lewis knew. He spent, first of all, his younger years walking hand in hand with Martin Luther King to heal our country of bigotry and unequal rights. And then he went on to serve the rest of his life in Congress to do the work, and he was calling us into it. I came across a couple things that he said recently up here on the screen. It says, do not get lost in a sea of despair, because right now you might be feeling that. Just me listing those things, okay. So don't get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month, or a year. It's the struggle of a lifetime. Remember what Jesus said, in this world there would be tribulation. Never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get in good trouble, necessary trouble. I appeal to all of you to get into this great revolution that is sweeping this nation. Get in and stay in the streets of every city, every village and hamlet of this nation until true freedom comes, until the revolution of 1776 is complete. So, some of you in this room or watching online right now could be one of those who's getting into some good trouble, where you're taking steps, you're doing things to help end racism and to awaken us to our unconscious bias, or eradicating guns. Yes, I said it. Maybe you're working to increase mental health or promote safety protocols or end the spread of disease or reduce the cost of groceries and gas. Anybody try to take a vacation right now? Maybe you're actually working to help war-torn countries and protect our children and get wise, compassionate people elected. Maybe you're actually working to prosecute those who promote violence. And for those of you who are doing something, who are marching against the wrongs in this world, promoting the rights and trying to make a physical difference in the world, thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you who are doing that. And for every 1 in 1,000 that's doing something, there are 999 of us who are feeling unqualified to do something, or we're feeling too depressed to do something, we're feeling helpless or hopeless to do something. So we just breathe into that for a minute. Because we actually have the power to do something. We have powers to do something that I want to talk about today to help eliminate oppression. And where it has to start is to use our powers to eliminate the oppression of our own ego, our error consciousness. That's where it always begins. It always begins within, and none of you have to be educated or hold some kind of office to make that happen. We can each do this individually in our own consciousness. You know, when we are looking at those who have been oppressed, let's look at a group that we don't really talk about that often. It's our Native Americans, those who are indigenous to this land. And it's interesting how we celebrated freedom, independence from tyranny, and then we turned right around and imposed it on others here in our own land. It's amazing. It's a wonder that any part of their culture has survived. But there is something of their culture that spoke to me when I first heard about it. It's the word faith keeper. It's the occupation of faith keeper. And it was written about by Native American Orrin Lyons. Up here on the screen, this is how Orrin describes it. There are many people in our lives who may accept to serve us as a faith keeper. We may see these roles filled by the clergy, authors, lecturers, TV and radio talk show hosts, musicians, mentors, muses, friends, family, neighbors, or anyone who might influence, solidify, or inspire our belief systems. In many Native American traditions, one member of the tribe will assume the role of faith keeper. The role of the faith keeper is to remain peaceful and calm while maintaining spiritual enlightenment and understanding, no matter what the tribe may endure. Under extreme conditions, if every single tribe member stumbles into fear, doubt, anxiety, worry, and pain, the faith keeper maintains peace, spirituality, and understanding. And therefore, the faith keeper is looked upon as the mainstay to the I am presence of God, Great Spirit, or Creator. You and I are all qualified to fill that role, if you'll say yes. We're all qualified because we're all the mainstay of the I am presence. We're all an expression of God when we allow it. And we have the powers within us through this divine presence to overcome that fear, selfishness, that weakness, that bias, that mental anguish and confusion that can all be overcome because we are each expressions of the divine. And the question is, will we do it? Paul was trying to get that across to the people that he was writing to, the apostle. He was writing to the Philippians. In chapter 3, he said this one thing I do, forgetting those things that are behind, I press toward the mark the prize of the high call of God in Christ. So all of us who are spiritually mature should think this way. And if anyone thinks differently, God will reveal it to him or her. Now, it's easy to interpret those words to say, let's just turn away from all of our problems and pretend like they're not happening. And that's not what I'm saying here. We're not denying the existence, past or current oppression. Definitely not that. We're acknowledging the facts. But when we acknowledge the facts, if we are overwhelmed with fear or anger or depression, that very thing that we're wanting to get rid of, we are empowering. With our fear, our anger, and our depression overcoming us, we are empowering those issues that we feel that way about. Now remember that Jesus said this land would not be utopia, but weirdly, at the same time, he said that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It's around us, it's within us. So what he's reminding us of is, yes, you'll come in here and you'll have this experience, but there's more to it than what you see with your eyes. It's what Paul meant, is to look past it. Don't let it overcome you, but instead step into your spiritual maturity and lean into that higher call of the Christ in you to be and see more clearly the truth of who you are. And you know, when Paul said, anyone who thinks differently, God will reveal it to him, I kind of think that that's our negative emotions. Every time we feel this overwhelming fear or anger or depression, recognize that whatever it is we're thinking or resisting in that moment, Spirit is thinking differently about. And so it's trying to communicate to you when you feel those lower emotions, not to get stuck here, because there is a greater power within you. And when we align with that Christ consciousness, we have the opportunity to let our powers of overcoming forth. And it's something, I say powers, not just a power, because I'm talking about those 12 spiritual powers of God within us that we talk about regularly here. The first one I want to talk about today to help us get out of this oppression is our power of release or elimination, or they even back in the day called it renunciation. Great word, but it all means the same. To let go of that which no longer serves us, to let go of the beliefs, the misunderstandings about who we are, and to press toward the mark. You know, I have to say that there is one idea that is pretty common to all of us and has been known to be the reason why we have such oppression in our land, and that is unworthiness. Whether we think of ourselves as unworthy or we think of someone else as unworthy, that is the error in our consciousness that will always keep us from expressing our powers of overcoming. And most of the time, even though we might hold the idea that someone else is unworthy, we got that idea because first we believed that we were unworthy. And it hurt so much that we just shift our attention to somebody else and say, you're wrong, you're bad. So this is where I'm asking you to call in your power of release and let go of that idea of unworthiness, both in you and others, because it is not serving us, and we will never get to healing. We cannot say, I am healed. We are healed if we keep holding on to that idea of unworthiness. How can I know that we are all worthy? How can you know that we are all worthy? Anyone? Anyone? How can we know that we are all worthy? We're all spirit. Thank you. So we use our power of release to let go of anything that tries to contradict that. Up here on the screen, I've got a few denials. Denials mean say something that reminds you that that error has no power over you. So here's a few examples up here. Why don't you say them with me? No one has the power to ruin my life. No one can choose for me who I'll be. I will not judge by appearance. There is no power working against me. God is the only power in my life. So using that power of release, we can say together, we are healing. That's one of the powers within you that will help to relieve oppression, first in your own consciousness, so that you can then be a light to others, a faith keeper for others. We also have our power of faith. That's actually inherent in us because we are spiritual beings. We were designed to be faith keepers. We were designed to be able to be the presence of healing. And the power of faith, though, I think the way that Charles Fillmore would actually define it is it's my power to perceive and create, to manifest. So it's how we perceive, and according to what we perceive, we then manifest. We can take the substance of the universe and form it into something based on how we see it. That's pretty powerful. And we've been using it. Well, actually, we've been misusing it to get to where we are today. So what about the spiritual dimension that's all around us? What about seeing the infinite possibilities of God within us? You know, one of the things that I'm asking you to do today is, let's just talk about racial bias. Many of us want to give up. It might just, for sure, anyone of color probably wants to give up at this point. Is this ever really going to change? But for all of us, I don't want you to give up. I want you to use your power of faith to be able to see past the limitations. I read something a long time ago. I think the book was Sacred Quest. Can't remember the guy's name. But he gave this illustration of how, when a fire is dying out, there's like this one little last piece of a log that's still burning and it's kind of glowing, and suddenly it just goes into a huge fire, and then it goes out. You've seen that, right? I'd like to think that all this overwhelming sadness that we're experiencing right now is bias and misunderstanding and violence. It's like the flame that's about to die out, but it's noticing it's about to lose its power, and so it gives one big hurrah, and now that's what's all in the news. But I really think this is a sign, and I'm holding on with my faith. I'm seeing into a higher dimension here, and no, it's possible for it to die out if I will agree with it, that it's coming to an end. So it's okay when one of these issues comes up for you and you feel the sadness or the fear or the anger or depression. Just only look for a moment until you feel it and go, whoa, that's not what I want, and then turn away and press toward the mark, the Christ consciousness, all things possible. That's where we want to put our energy. Be the faith keeper that looks to the true power, that draws forth the new possibilities. Somebody has to do this. Somebody has to stand and say, we are healing, because I am healing, starting with me, if you'll be willing. So a few statements of faith up here on the screen. Let's say it together. It is done as I believe. I know there's a higher way possible. So using our power of faith, we can say, we are healing. Which leads us to another power that should just tag right on to our power of faith, and that's our power of dominion. I started calling it that. I used to call it the power of power, but that's just too confusing. Didn't really stand out. So dominion is my new way of describing the power of power. And dominion is our ability to choose what we think and what we say. Most of the time the brain is just bringing up thoughts. And that's normal. They're coming from the past. They're coming from the subconscious. But what I'm saying here is that when you get one of those thoughts that does not feel good, you have the power to choose again, to catch it, to notice it, to change how you look at it. And not only change the thought about it, but also change the words about it. So we start noticing and listening to what's in our mind and what's coming out of our mouth towards what's happening all around us, and we redirect it. This power of power or dominion is incredibly powerful, and we misuse this one too. Listen to how powerful we are and how much we've misused our power of power. We are in the omnipresence. What does omnipresence mean? Everywhere, all that is. Presence of God known as life. We are in the omnipresence of life. And yet we have managed to use our thoughts and our words to, I would say, create and sustain a worldwide pandemic. Isn't that amazing how powerful we have misused this? We are in the presence, omnipresence, of inexhaustible substance, spiritual energy, that which stands under every single thing that is made and spent and eaten and lived in, infinite substance. And yet, we have managed to create, with our thoughts and our words, lack, poverty. Don't start feeling ashamed or blamed in this. That's not my intent. I want you to see how much our consciousness can contribute to creating what we don't want. We dwell in the omnipresence of love, infinite love, that is only here to do good, work for our good, see our good, be good in our lives. And yet we manage day in and day out to manifest conflict in relationship. You are pretty powerful. I am pretty powerful. And we just have to learn to pay attention to what we are contributing to misuse that power and how we can undo it. I'm standing on the line here. About ready to say something that I might regret later. But y'all know me well enough. Rats. Okay, here we go. So I came across an organization's statement in the last week or two about their feeling or response or belief about the reversal of Roe v. Wade. And in the languaging, it said, there's a real possibility that other human rights are in danger of being revoked as well. And some of you are going, yes, that's true. People, did you not hear what I just said? Do we want that in a statement that will go out there and last for as long as this is an issue? What are we doing with those words and those thoughts? I'm sorry. Let me see if I can do this without anger. I'm just trying to remind you, this is how we misuse our power of dominion, is by putting it in writing and telling it to the world. Here's a danger. This is the worst or even worse thing that could happen. Okay, acknowledge in your own heart this might happen, but you don't put it in cement and hang it on a wall somewhere. That's not how we cure our problems. This is about using our spiritual power of dominion, where we look for a moment at what we don't want, and then we shift over to what we do want to see happen in this situation. This is what we start talking about. What is truly possible when we press toward the mark, the Christ expression in us. Just, swap roles for a minute. Pretend you're Jesus. You just heard what happened with the Supreme Court. Do you think he's saying, wow, and then this could happen, and then that could happen, and what's the world coming to? Not. So, remember that a minister's job is to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. So that was me, afflicting the comfortable. I'm just asking you to notice how easily we can misuse, even when we're trying to do good, even when we're trying to address bad, how easily we misuse our power, because our thoughts and our feelings and our beliefs and our words and our actions become things through the law of attraction. If you're new to Unity, that might be new to you too. So just think about it for a little while, see how it fits for you. One thing I promise you is that if you think on an idea long enough for a feeling to come up with it, you are right there on the manifestation cusp. You are on the leading edge of creating something new, good or bad. So let it be good. Let your words become feelings and beliefs that manifest for good in our life. That's what part of our role here is in healing. Breathe, everybody. Okay, up here on the screen, here's some thoughts about our thoughts. Let's say these together. I choose thoughts that feel good. I speak words that create a better world. And when we use our power of dominion together, we are healing. All right, one more power for the day, and then we'll cut you loose. This is our power of understanding. It's probably the one that's most important because most of our ills are created by misunderstanding. Just take a look at your own life and see if that's true for you. You know how when a bad thing happens, we immediately decide why it happened, why they did what they did, what's going to happen next, and we may not have any of the facts, right? We decide what's going to happen or what it means based on our own line of reasoning, our own beliefs that we've been carrying around with us. We don't need any proof. We just make our own assumptions, snap judgments, things like that. And that is no way to heal a relationship, a body, a country, a world, when we understand from our own point of view that has not gotten us anywhere so far. So our power of understanding, when it's not driven by the ego, actually has the ability to help us open up to deeper ideas of what's going on. Our power of understanding helps us connect the dots and incorporate spiritual truths in our understanding, so we don't just look at the outer and say, that means that, and that is bad, and you are not good. There's a power of understanding within us that can, if we are willing, can actually transform. And one of the things that I think is just such a beautiful demonstration of this is Daryl Davis. I told you about him once, but oh boy, today's the day to talk about Daryl Davis. So he is a black man who has befriended members of the Ku Klux Klan. Has dinner with them, goes on trips with them, hangs out with them. And in his friendships that he creates with them, Klansmen are realizing that their hate is misguided. So one of the things, he's been doing this for 30 years. It's like 200 Klansmen have given up their robes after becoming a friend with Daryl Davis. And it's not like he goes in to convert them. He just goes in and hangs out with them and allows them to see who he is, and they change. So there was lots of stories written about him, but this one was from npr.org. So he's going somewhere with a white guy. Let's look at a picture, can we, Susan, so you can get an idea who Daryl is. So he says, this guy was sitting in my car in my passenger seat, and he made this statement, which I'd heard before. Well, we all know that all black people have within them a gene that makes them violent. I turned to him and I said, wait a minute. I'm as black as anybody you've ever seen. I've never done a carjacking or a drive-by. How do you explain that? He didn't even pause to think about it. He said, your gene is latent. It hasn't come out yet. So how do you argue with somebody who is that far out in left field? I was dumbfounded. I'm just driving along. He's sitting there all smug and sincere, like, see, you have no comeback for that. And I thought about it for a minute, and then I used his point of reference. I said, well, we all know that white people have a gene within them that makes them a serial killer. He says, what do you mean? And I said, well, name me 3 black serial killers. He thought about it. He could not do it. I said, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, Charles Manson, John Wayne Gacy, all whites. I said, son, you are a serial killer. He says, Daryl, I've never killed anybody. I said, your gene is latent. It hasn't come out yet. He goes, well, that's stupid. I said, well, duh. Yes. But you know what? You're right. What I said was stupid, but no more stupid than what you said to me. And then he got very, very quiet and changed the subject. 5 months later, based on that conversation, he left the Klan. His robe was the first robe I ever got. Give him a hand. So Daryl used his spiritual power of understanding. In other words, he allowed his heart to open to understand more deeply. He actually would take the time to read about the Ku Klux Klan, to understand better what their beliefs were and how they got where they got. And he could actually gain respect from the Ku Klux Klan members when they were talking because he actually understood their group and he spoke like he had respect for them. Maybe not respect, but understanding for them. And little by little, that respect allowed those who were in the Ku Klux Klan to drop their defensiveness, their guard, and open their heart because they were feeling heard and listened to. And now they could do the same for Daryl. And as they did that, he said, you only have to spend 5 minutes together before you find out you've got things in common. And they would notice that. And little by little, they would change their point of view. So I could have told this same story today from the perspective of the LGBTQ community. And I am so blessed by those who have the courage to come out, because if my husband hadn't come out to me, I would still be back in that group of people who misunderstood, who didn't. I remember I was raised in an evangelical Christian background, and that was all new to me. But because he had the courage to come out, I had the ability to understand more deeply. Those who can do that, their family and their friends, hopefully, will have an opportunity to see this person that I love doesn't match up with the vision of that person that I thought those people were. And now I understand. And the walls come down. So many opportunities to use our power of spiritual understanding on both sides. But really, it's the ones who are not perpetrating violence on others that have the chance to begin and create the space so that others can feel the very power. It's like when we sang that song today, I Am Healing. You felt the energy of that. When Daryl was just himself with his spiritual power of understanding working, people could feel it on an unconscious level until they changed their understanding. That's the power of it. And if I went back to that list of tragedies that I started this message with, every single one of them probably has misunderstanding included in it. This is the one you really want to work on. I really want to work on myself. Are you willing to be healing? Here's some words from our power of understanding. Let's say them together. I have a deeper understanding of spiritual law. My heart is open to new possibilities. And so when we use our power of understanding, we can see together we are healing. So are you willing to know, to be the faith keeper, that we are healing? Are you willing to do that? Hold it in consciousness so that we really can celebrate Independence Day and know that we're in motion. We're heading in that direction. Don't give up on us, okay? Use your power of faith. Draw on your power of strength. That's another one, where you don't give up. And become the eyes of the faith keeper. And before I finish today, I want us to just listen to a few of the words from Ginger's song again. And this time, we'll just do it metaphysically. And though it might bring up for you ideas of physical healing, see if you can't apply these words to spiritual consciousness in me, healing the world around me. Up here on the screen. across the miles, you don't have to say it with me, just listen closely in your heart. Across the miles, I hear you cry. It is a guide to my light. Feel it working. Do not fight. No more darkness. All is bright. One part focus, one part intent, one heart open, one love connect. I see a body calm and clear. I see a life calm and clear. I see a relationship calm and clear. I see a country calm and clear. I see a world calm and clear. Only peace and wellness here. I feel the comfort of you near. Forever love will hold us dear. I am healing. We are healing. Let's take that into meditation. As we allow our bodies to relax, we allow our hearts to open. Not to reach out for the good we seek, but to discover that good within us. Let's breathe in through our heart as a door opens at our center space. And divine light comes forth from within. And with this light, I feel a willingness to let go of all that is not serving me. I am no longer held down by fears or anger or depression, for the light within is dissolving all that is unlike light. As this door opens at the center of my heart, light shines on what is real and true. In the midst of the circumstances of my life, I see infinite love, eternal life, unlimited substance, perfect wisdom. I have faith. These are the qualities that dwell within me. I give thanks in this moment for my power of understanding. My mind and heart are open to what is real and true in all my relationships. Spirit is in the midst of this. And we are healing. With this wisdom and love, with this faith and understanding, I move forward in power, overcoming all that is unlike God and revealing all that is. I am free. I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. This is the truth of my being. And now I let it be. Amen.